My name is Laura Tyler. I'm 27 years old. I'm from Orlando, Florida, and I am a contestant on Season 3 Face Off. In high school, I worked over at Universal Studios for a long time and learned how to airbrush within that time, and graduated with a magnet in arts degree from there. I also acquired an associate's degree in arts recently from Valencia Community College, and I've just been working towards mostly special effects. Like, it started out as a hobby. I would just do it in my spare time, but people would ask me, "Oh, we see you're good at that, so can you do this for us and help us out with this production?" And it just kind of snowballed into this giant thing. And you pick things up from friends. You can learn things on the internet. You can buy books off the internet. I mean, I never went to Joe Blasco. I'm pretty self-taught, so. And I don't feel like makeup needs to be a community of, okay, I have a secret formula, so I'm going to keep it all to myself. I feel like it should be open to everybody. Dick Smith also believes this, and I couldn't agree more with him on that. There's no reason. There's one by Bruno Lechesi, Sculpting the Human Head. I believe that's his name. He's an Italian sculptor, and it is a wonderful book about how to, start from the inside and work your way out. Start from the bone
and the musculature,
add the muscle, and add the skin, and it's a great way to learn how to work with watercolor. But Stan Winston has a school now called the Stan Winston School of Character Arts. And for $50 a month, you can watch as many videos as they have on the entire website, and it's incredibly worth it because most of the instructors that are teaching these videos are like top in their field. So, I mean, if there was someone who was saying, well, how do I get into this? I'd say, well, the cheapest and probably most efficient route would be to watch these online videos because they give you all of the information. They don't keep anything back. They give you the materials, how much they cost, where you can find them. And it's a really good tool.
Cool. Orlando?
Well, Halloween was just introduced in China in the last 10 years. They've really embraced the holiday and made it their own. But as far as the park's concerned, they want to appease everybody. So there's elements of characters that would appease children, but then there's also elements of characters that would appease adults, and then there's that whole Chinese and Japanese aesthetic as well with the ring and their kind of horror genre. So it's quite different and definitely a good experience for anybody who would. On most Halloween events, I would usually stand there with a spray gun of blood and just spray people, but not in China. In China, it's very much like, very much more refined. The characters are much more thought of and thought out from head to toe. I mean, ours are thought of head to toe as well, but theirs are more. I don't know. I almost want to say exaggerated right now, but then ours are kind of a little bit more realistic in the gore sense.
So you did.
There's an option. You can either send in a tape or you can go to the actual audition location. We had one here in Orlando.
Oh, okay.
The first audition is about 15 minutes. You have to apply a full prosthetic makeup in 15 minutes.
Wow.
And most people choose gore. Most people choose like blood, guts, and things like that. I didn't. I went the complicated route and decided to do a Planet of the Apes mask.
Oh, wow.
Which I think is a photo you can see on the show at the beginning, or in the first episode when they show photos of everything. That one of them is my audition photo. So now you have to apply it on yourself, and then for the semi-finalist auditions, if they choose you from the 15-minute audition, you go to LA and then you do a 2-hour makeup, and that's also in the first episode. A picture of that. Luckily, I'm a freelance makeup artist, and most people that join the show are. So our life, unlike everybody else's that's a 9-to-5 job, we organize our life as jobs that come in. So one week you might have a ton of work, the next week you might have nothing, or you might go a month without work, and then you might have a big job that pays for everything. So our life as a makeup artist is just, it's structured like that, so that when they say, okay, you're coming, and we can and are capable of dropping everything and just doing it. So I treated it in that respect as kind of another job. First off the bat, it's all from another angle. So you're watching it from the camera's point of view. So when you step into that lab and you see everything from the other side, it's a little jarring. It's a little bit like very surreal. Like, could this possibly be happening? You know, we're constantly questioning it. But I mean, there really is no way to prepare fully for what they will throw at you. You could prepare all your life and still not be 100% prepared. I mean, I've been doing mostly makeup for my entire life, but the prop building, for example, you know, that they expect you to do, or they may sometimes expect you to do, you kind of have to learn on the fly. Before I went out there, I think I got my sketchbook and I just started drawing characters. Just started making up characters left and right. I had a whole section of my sketchbook just dedicated to potential things that I've seen in previous seasons. Like, they had an alien one year, so I was like, okay, I'll draw an alien. They had an animal challenge one year, so I was like, okay, I'll just draw a bunch of animal creatures. And so I had those references in my head when I went out there. So if a challenge like that happened to come up, I could just pull that from my brain. Well, they'll never be able to show everything. And the show is only an hour. And there's so much that we saw that we wish you could see, and I'm sure that they had to edit on the bottom of and ended up on the floor. But for the most part, I feel like they get the gist of everything. I think that so far everybody has been portrayed very genuinely, and there are, you know, people that, you know, could have come off a lot worse than they did, and they didn't. I think it's been very fair. I mean, from my perspective, that's pretty much what happened in a very condensed version. Honestly, everything that they've showed so far is pretty much how it happened. I mean, there's a few things that they could have gone more in depth with, but for purposes of it being an hour-long show, they didn't have time. So, like I said, I think they got the gist of it as much as they could, possibly in an hour. Really. I still stay in contact with Cece. She's an amazingly warm and just heartful person, full of love, and you know, I could have asked for a better roommate. And then Roy, I still stay in contact with him. He's an amazing and brilliant fabricator and makeup artist, and he always has some tips or tricks that I can use. And of course, Derek and Eric live here in Florida, and I've worked with them for years. I would say, honestly, I prefer working by myself on most projects, only because then you get full say over the entire design, and you don't have to make compromises. And there are a lot of times when you're in a partnership, and that's just what happens. You have to make compromises, and that's what being a part of a team is all about. And, you know, in a perfect world, everyone would get to see their vision through to the entire end, but that's not how it always works in film. So I looked at it as like working on a film. You know, it's not my decision all the time. It's the directors, or it's the producers, or it's the assistants. Most of the time we're just passing out until the next day, because there is really no time to do anything else. We like to cook a lot. We like to have our caretakers bring us all sorts of foods that we could invent new things from. There's some really good cooks in the house. Jason, an amazing cook. Sarah, an amazing cook. Tommy has a really good fish dish that he made one night. Yeah, we were just like culinary people during that whole entire time at the dorm. It was either that or we passed out.
Yeah.
When you're on a reality TV show, you are completely secluded. And by completely, I mean completely. So it can get a bit hard the further you go. Now that we are in our 4th episode, you can think of, okay, 4 episodes, so that's, 3 days.
Each episode is about 3 days?
Each episode is about 3 days. First day, design. Second day, like that 10-hour stint of work, and then the third day is application. So at that point, during the 4th episode, it had been about 2-3 weeks.
Sure.
Just 2 or 3 weeks without seeing your loved ones. It's difficult.
That's rough.
It's very difficult. I would say Patrick and V. I was very, very excited to actually see and meet in person. They're incredibly nice people and huge professionals. I can't say enough good things about them. I grew to like Glenn, surprisingly enough. Like, I didn't, the first week, you're kind of feeling everybody out, but he has some very genuinely good ideas, very concise and thought out and meticulous ideas that he brought forth to every time that he would come in for the lookovers. In the second day, we always looked forward to. They've been pretty on the money in the last 3 or 4 episodes, I feel like. And when you're there in person, like I said, the makeup looks a bit different than what it does on TV. And they're not just judging it from in person. They're judging it from photographs, what it looks like on film. They're taking all of that into consideration and giving you a very educated judging on it. So I totally respect and listen to their opinions because they're valid. They give us very clear instructions what is expected of us, but at the same time, a lot of it has to do with personal taste and personal style, and sometimes you might have a style that the judges aren't going to like, and you take that risk, but that's the risk that you take in these kind of competitions. You can't, if they told us exactly what they were expecting to the letter, I mean, I could copy something,
right?
But that wouldn't be a challenge.
Yeah.
I would say, right off the bat, everyone's got to have Rick Baker in their repertoire. He's both an amazing sculptor, an amazing makeup artist, and on top of that, he has a great business that he's created. I love Steve Wang's work for sculpting. He is the most meticulous, and just some of his designs, I mean, I just can't even wrap my head around them. They're so uniquely his, but at the same time so refined. I don't know any other way to describe it. Todd McIntosh is another really good one. He was the lead or head makeup artist for Buffy the Vampire Slayer, at least for the four seasons. And I respect him. I read an article, I think it was in maybe Fangoria, where he just went over like what his week consisted of, and how many vampires and how many demons he had to constantly push out, and they were on 24/7 makeup duty, cranking stuff out. And I think if anybody was used to seeing what it is that we're doing on Face Off,
You'd appreciate it.
He'd appreciate it. And I strive to be that kind of person who just can get results, and get results good, and get results quickly. I, like many people, believe that CGI is a tool, and it can be used to enhance. And when makeup and CGI come together, where you have practical effects but then add a little bit of that CGI in it, I think that's the perfect marriage. But I'm not really worried. There are so many things that still need practical effects. Old age makeups. Greg Cannon's work on Benjamin Button is an amazing example of that. You would never be able to, I mean, you could do that with CGI, but people would know. And I don't know, I think we're getting to a point, especially now that Face Off is such a hit show. Generally, I think audiences are becoming more aware that makeup is an option, and therefore directors are becoming more aware that makeup is an option. I think that CGI has gotten very, very good, but makeup has also gotten and continued to get very, very good with CGI, and to go back to being practical in certain movies. I think audiences are ready to see that again. Because I'm never actually scared by a makeup. I'm scared by the actor who's performing in that makeup, who's scaring me or jumping out. And in a movie sense, how the editor and the director and the producer are all working together to make that scary makeup that you've made. It's scary. I don't know. Yeah, you can't, as a makeup artist, you can't do your job well without somebody who knows what they're doing. It's a team effort. I'm a lead makeup artist right now for Halloween Horror Nights, and it hasn't been decided what area I will be in or be in charge of, but I'm really looking forward to it. I'm sure don't know 100%, but may end up doing Grinchmas again, but it really depends on the kind of opportunities that present themselves because of the show. Like I said, I'm a freelance artist, so if someone were to call me up and say, hey, can you be in, Texas next week for a shoot? I would have to do that. So I'm perfectly okay with traveling and doing that. We just got back from Dragon Con in Atlanta, which was awesome. We did a lot of panels there, and people would recognize me, but only when I was standing next to Roy, because Roy's got the big hat and the glasses. He's really easy to identify, so everyone would be like, hey, Roy! Oh, and you too, you're from Face Off. And then Derek was next to me, and he went, oh, and you too, you're from Face Off. And then Cece would come by once in a while too. Hey, and you too. So like Roy would be the catalyst, and then everybody would start recognizing the rest of us. The quickest and easiest solution to that is just go to Stan Winston schoolofcharacterarts.com and start watching videos. And for me personally, the first thing I did to get into this was to buy an airbrush, or I asked for an airbrush for Christmas. Yeah, buy an airbrush and start practicing on your friends and family, on their hands, on their bodies, on their faces. Take pictures of everything. Put in a portfolio. You never know when it's going to